Hey guys, it's Katie. So I'm going to play with my scraps a little bit, and I have some orange here, and I have a darker, so this all came out of a blend like this, just a scrap batch of orange and a little red. This is the darkest color, and then I added a little yellow to it to get it slightly lighter, and then I added a little more from this, a little more yellow and white to get it slightly lighter. And I'm going to just blend them up a little bit, so I have them in long strips here. And rather than do like a traditional Skinner blend, I don't care if it's stripe it a little bit in this. So I'm just going to do it like this. I think I'll be fine. I'm just going to overlap them a little bit. And that way they'll just blend where they're overlapped. I'm not looking for perfection in this. I'm going to be messing with scrap clays, so. So see, they're overlapped a little bit. I'm going to run it through my machine and then keep folding up until I get a little blend here. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. And then push your edges in. This is the easy way to keep your blend nice and narrow. So I think that's fine with me. So then the next color I was going to do was brown, because I have a bunch of brown scrap right now. I have this really dark brown. Let me see if I can find a lighter one. So maybe I'll go dark to light. This one's like really deep. I know I had it stacked on some other brown, but then I also have this light brown. That might work. Let me see. Now this all came from the canes that I've made in the last few days. These canes and these canes, the browns came from. You know, this is the darker one because it has more black in it. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. I probably don't need all of this though. I'm going more southwest colors, I'm getting this vibe of. And I was just kind of looking at my scraps and seeing what I had. I want more of the dark brown, so I'm going to do a wider strip of the dark brown. And this light brown scrap isn't fully mixed up, as you can see. So again, that's totally fine. It doesn't need to be perfectly mixed. Like, I'll be fine with whatever color it gives me. And I'm overlapping them a little bit. It's an easy way to kind of do a quick blend. Especially when you're not like looking for perfection in your blend. Let me run this through once. So yeah, they're overlapped right there in the middle. So then always fold up. And I'm going to push in on the sides and try to keep this about the same width as that. Okay. So I have this blue scrap, but it's more of a dusty. So I think I want it more turquoisey. So I think I'm going to add some of this green scrap that I had and see what I get once I mix that up. So let me do that. I added about half of the little amount I had to this. And I have some more of this green, so I think I might blend that. But this is a little light, so I think I have this other scrap green. And I think I'm going to mix that in with this. Just to, I don't know, just to mix it in a little bit. Just because I think these two colors are very similar. And I want them a little different. So I'm going to add some green to this to get it a little different. But I didn't like this purely alone, so I just took a piece of that. And this is what I have so far. So from where we came to where we are, I think I'm now going to add some yellow to it just to see if I can brighten it up. I'm just playing, like I don't know. I mean, obviously I wouldn't add red to this because green and red make brown. I could add blue to it to turn it more bluish, but I want to add yellow and see if I can brighten this up a little bit. So I have some 2 different yellows, some scraps here, and I'm going to mix that in. Okay, so where I started, where I am now. Definitely a little more green than this was. This was more blue here. This was like an aqua. So what I'm going to do now, and I really don't have a plan. I'm just playing with color, but I know some of you struggle with colors. So, you know, that's why I'm showing it, but skip it if you want. So I have a strip here, and then I'm going to do overlap them a little bit. This green here. And then I think I'm going to take a little of this green and mix it with white. Maybe like a 50-50 mix of green and white. And mix that up so I have a really pale, and I'll put that strip there. You know, but just starting out with a little bit of scrap color, you can make it into more by adding other colors to it and modifying it a little bit. So, you know, I didn't start out with much of this green, and right now what I have left of that is this, and I'll use this in another project later by adding a different color to it to make more of this. So, but it'll be a slightly different color. So I keep these little amounts of scraps, and you see me use them in my projects all the time. You can use pure color, but I like to use up what I have. So yeah, I think I'll do that. I don't know why, just because I feel like it. So I'll blend these 3 together. You know, and you could have done a blue, or dark blue, light blue, or medium blue, you know, light blue. You could have kept more with the blues, or I could have even made this a light version of this if I wanted to. So whatever you want, just play around and have fun. So again, they're overlapped some here. Push that back over there. These parts, and I think what I'm going to do is roll out some black on the same settings and also roll out some white on the same thickness. So right now they're all on 0. I think I'm going to do some black and white because I want to try 2 different looks and see what I like better. Also decided, because I might do a couple different things with these blends. I took half of them. I'm going to keep them at the width I was doing, and then the other half I'm going to make skinnier like this. So just by, again, folding in half and pinching the sides, I'm going to make it about half of the width. This is where we started. This is where I am now. So that's probably what, half an inch. This is like 1.5 inches. That one's like 1 inch. So this one was wider than the other ones anyways. But okay, I'm going to keep taking them down. Okay, so I made one here in black, and I'm going to do the same thing in white, and I'll show you this one. So pretty much I'm just cutting alternate size triangles, and I guess the only thing that makes it cohesive is the black lines. Now this one got a little thin, and when I burnished it, the blue covered it, but I'm hoping when I sand the layer, more of the black will show up there. Okay, so I sped this up a little bit because it takes a little while. And when I'm doing this, my blade screeches, and someone just complained the other day, I can't even stand the screeching blade when I was doing the Bargello video. And it's much easier when you do this to get it to stick to your blade if you can. And the way to do that is when you're cutting right now, to cut down through and then drag towards you. Don't lift it off the bench. Drag it right towards you, right against it. And a lot of times it will stick to the blade, which makes it much easier when you're going to put it on there. That way you don't have to pick it up and mess with these little pieces. So pretty much I'm just cutting different triangles here. I'm trying to keep fat side, skinny side, fat side, skinny side. I'm also trying to alternate the blends. So like there's dark brown and light brown there, and I want to put dark orange and next to the light brown and light orange next to the dark brown, but I was doing this late, and in a moment you will see I had a whole bunch of issues trying to figure out and I ended up putting 2 fat ends of the triangle on the same side. You'll see on this next one. So, you know, I'm really not caring what colors I'm doing. I'm just going for it. So, you know, the only thing is in between each one, I'm putting a layer of white, and on the other one I did a layer of black. And like I said, when I burnished the other one, the blue kind of came over and covered the black line. But what you'll see at the end is that black line, when I sanded that little bit that came over, the black line showed back up. So it was fine. And you see right here, for some reason, I'd have issues with triangles. I put 2 fat together, but it works out. And I actually am looking at the piece, and I didn't even use that. You can't even tell that I did that. And unless I rewatched this video, I wouldn't have even noticed it in the pattern. So, because it was on the end of my piece. So anyways, pretty much I'm just cutting here. I didn't plan on doing a voiceover, but again, I still have 2 weeks off from the coronavirus, and I'm 2 weeks in. And if I'm going to craft, I want to show you, and I have to make this a shorter video to be able to upload it at home because our internet's so slow, because we live out in the middle of nowhere and we have one internet provider and we can't even get cable. We have to have satellite because we live so far out. So I have to make this video. It takes, if I start uploading this video at 11 o'clock at night, it'll be done uploading by like 11 o'clock the next morning. So otherwise I can't use my phone to like check Facebook or YouTube or anything, because the internet is so bad here that if I'm uploading a video, if we wanted to watch like a movie on demand or anything like that, you can't. It's just too slow. It won't it'll buffer forever because this takes up so much, I don't know, so much of our Wi-Fi. So I'm trying to keep these videos, 20 minutes takes about 8 hours. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut off any white that I can keep. If you had cut your white to your length of your Skinner blends, you wouldn't have to do this, but each one of my Skinner blends isn't exactly the same size, so I just made the white a little wider just to make it easier. Now we're going to take some, I'm using non-wax parchment. You can use deli paper, plain printing paper, and we're going to burnish. And go with your white lines. I would try, if you can, go with the lines, and then, you know, go side to side. I was showing you there, don't go up and down if you can help it, until you get it pretty flat. Once it feels pretty flat, you can use your roller, but I'm not rolling, I'm just dragging it. And I made these blends skinny because I planned on using these skinny cutters here from Metal Clay Studio. I just like wearing this shape. I like wearing it, so. And I just picked it up here to try to straighten it out just a little bit, but I'm going to burnish it back down to my paper because I want to make sure, or onto my tile, because I want to make sure it's really stuck to the tile, because I'm going to bake on here. And as you know, I don't tend to bake it on paper. So I want it as firmly stuck to the tile as possible. That way it doesn't get a bunch of air bubbles on the back or anything. Peeling off my excess. And there we go. Now we have these two. I'm going to bake them 275 for an hour. Okay, so there's these two. Let me move some stuff. I'll be right back. Now for the other one, I think I'm going to still go with this small. Actually, maybe I'll save the small blends because I can make a couple more of those. Let's use the big blends. So what I was going to do was make just a bunch of geometric, more triangular shapes. And then, you know, thing is, we're going to want to cut these edges nicely. So let's cut the edges because they might show up in this. I have no room to put anything. I'm running out of room, guys. So you want nice clean edges. Now, you can do the same thing with this and put white or black lines in between, or you could use that nail tape that I had, that I showed you on that black and white pendant, that circle pendant. We use that nail tape. That might look cool. Oh, it's time for the dog's S-U-P-P-E-R. Or is it S-U-P-E-R? No, that's super. Yeah, I know, I saw you. Okay, so pretty much with all of these, we're just going to begin cutting triangles in different sizes. And then again, just laying them down. So, you know, either I could put white or black in between, or I can do it later, and I might use that glittery nail stuff and put it on. So I might do that. And you could actually use a big blend and a little blend for this, like the skinny ones, the fat ones, the skinny ones, the fat ones, just to get different size shapes in here. Like you could just take a triangle out of something like this. Maybe I'll just have a little piece here. Maybe we'll just take a little triangle out of this guy. And just start filling in. I'm going to save that actually. I don't want to use that right now. These might be too big, these first couple that I did. So let's, like that. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll see. need a skinny one to fit in there. It's like when I used to do glass mosaics. A little easier because it's not so sticky. Aha, there we go. Oh, it needs to be the opposite way. Get in there. Okay, I'm going to keep playing with this till I get a little sheet meat that I can cut one out of. I'll see how it turns out after I put... See, the pieces can't be that little because I do have really skinny nail tape, but like really skinny. So I'll see. I'm going to try to keep them bigger than that though. I may take this and cut this right, boop, right there. Try to keep them a little bigger. So I've gotten some of them sanded and just sanded and buffed right now. Actually, this is the back. Black one, the white one. Here's another white one I did with the larger pieces. And then I did another one where I cut the Skinner blends in their colors. I put them away already in my scrap box, but like cut them in half. So I had these really little strips. And then I did the same thing with triangles. And I did 2 on the outside with the white separating them. And I just set in some nail crystals. And I still got to resin the whole thing. And then the other one I'm doing is this one here. So this is the one that I laid all the pieces together. And it kind of looked like that, even though this is a back. But I'm starting to use my nail tape. This really skinny one, I'm separating them, and I actually like them. So I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. So I just have some tweezers, and this is quite easy to do once you get it where you want it. And where the heck did I just put my scissors? Right here. And once I get the top resined, I'll just trim the tape with my Dremel. I'll just trim these edges. Or I may resin them down. I'll take a little glue, that Lisa Pavelka glue, and fold them over, and then I can resin the edges. So that's all I'm doing with it, and I'm thinking so far it looks pretty cool, no? So I'm going to keep doing that, and then I'll resin all of them when they're done. So like this one here, I just did one long big strip. Sorry, it just cut out on me. I would do a long one here, long one here. I'm not like going from here to here. I would go all the way down, all the way down. So as long of strips as I can do is what I'm doing here. I like this nail tape. I had colors, but none of them really went with it, so I went with silver. Just because, as you know, that's what I wear the most, is silver. You could probably do gold, too. If that is what you want, if you like gold. I think gold would actually probably look fine. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I'll show you it when it's done. Actually, I'll resin it first, and then I'll show you every one when they're done. So this one's out of the oven, out of the curing light, and I just wanted to show you what I'm going to do to clean up this part here. So it's resined. I had to do 2 coats because one of the ends right here on this short one started to pop up when I put the resin on it. It didn't happen to any of the others, only this little, why isn't it focusing? Only this little dinky short one started to pop up right there. So I had to fully cure my first coat and then do a second coat of resin. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to just trim them. You see my pants? My pajama pants. It's 9:44. And I've been off of work for like 2 weeks. Corona, but the good Corona. Okay, so I'm just going to use this barrel disc, and I think these are on my Amazon Ambassador page. I don't use them a lot because they only have the ones I have from like really low grits. I think this is the finest grit 400, and I've been using it for like 8 months, so it's even softer than that now. So literally I'm just going to trim these little edges off now that they're securely in the resin. Pretty easy. So it feels smooth to my finger. Oh, I did get a little resin leak over there. You see it? See it right there? It followed that piece. Actually, it was probably where I was trying to stick it back on when it was peeling up on that one spot. I'll just rebuff up my edges quick just so they're not sanded looking. I know I cut out sanding and buffing, but I've showed you guys this many times in many old videos, so. And then that one's done. The other couple are still in the light, but I think that looks cool, no? I could have done a better resining job. I did get a couple air bubbles in there, but I think it looks pretty cool. And in real life, it really glitters. It doesn't glitter as much on camera. But in real life, it really glitters. Let me get the other couple out and I'll show them to you. So here's this one with the just 2 stripes on the side. Oh, I got a little overhang of resin right there too. For some reason, I did not do very well with my resin tonight. You can even see where I heated it up too much with my torch. It starts to set the top layer and then you get this rippling. That's when you heat your resin up too much when you're torching it. And I put the flame on too high, so I might do one more coat of just a thin layer. But you have to cure each coat individually. I did get a little drippage right here on the side. And I didn't, you know, the black, I just didn't know what the heck to do in the black. It was just going to be a black stripe. And I was like, it's a little plain. So I put those little pave crystals in. They're not super, like, noticeable, but I think they just give me something. Because I knew that if I put texture in it, you wouldn't really notice it with resin. So I don't know, I just didn't know what else to do, and I wanted to use these up and not have them sitting around. And then the other two, we have this one here, and then we have the white one. So they look totally different, the same exact blends when you got white or black or silver. You know, everything, this has white and black. So everything looks totally different depending on, you know, same if you were going to border pieces, it really changes the look depending on what pieces you border or what color you border with. So, you know, and the backs I think look fine because I did them on setting 0. So the back is pretty much the same thing as the front. I just gave it a little sand and buff. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a back. I don't really care about the backs. This one is kind of what the front would have looked like if I hadn't separated it. And then this one, I took the scraps from this cane that I did the other day, and actually I reduced it down and even made it smaller. Cut it and put it together again. I took those scraps and I just twisted them a couple times, cut it in half, and rather than like a Natasha bead where you twist it and you cut in half and you look at the middle, if you look at the outside and put the outsides together, you'll get stripes rather than the Natasha inside. You know what I'm talking about? Like this gives you stripes, which I like better than a Natasha bead. I don't, for some reason, I never like the way a Natasha bead comes out. So what I'm saying to do, I still have some scraps here. So you got your scraps, and if you want to get stripes out of them, you just take your scraps, put it in a sausage like you would if you were going to, say, make a Natasha bead. Obviously, these aren't like perfect scraps. They're just, I had them put in a little ball. And then you twist, right? So you twist. Now, I'm going to twist even more. Like a lot of times people would cut right now and see what design you get on the inside for a Natasha bead. But when you want to get stripes, you just twist, get some nice fine stripes going. You have to roll it every few twists because it'll break on you. You'll make it too skinny and then it'll start to break. So you have to roll it back out. Scrunch up those ends, and you can roll towards yourself, towards the middle instead of away to make the middle fatter again, and then just kind of push in the ends. I don't want these lines even finer. I'm probably not going to keep this, but I want to show you kind of what I'm doing. If I ever use anything to get lines, this is what it's from. And I wasn't just using these. This has been sitting for a day, this scrap, because I made those yesterday. So get this fat again, make it like a little log, or whatever, you know, however long you want it to be. And then cut in half, and you can twist to get your lines as fine as you want. Now when people do Natashas, they put them together like this, right? And they see the pattern on the inside. Well, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the outside pattern. Actually, rather than cut it in half, what I did for these is just flattened it out. That way both sides were striped. And then just run it through your pasta machine. And you know, depending how many times you twisted it, will depend how fat or how skinny you'll get. You know, how much clay you use. So that's how I got the stripes. And I even have it from, you know, this cane here. Keep for backs. So what one did I do that on? Oh, right here. Duh. It's right in front of me. This one I used the stripes for the back because it was on a setting 2, so it wasn't on a thin enough setting or thick enough setting. I wanted it to be thicker. So that's how you get stripes pretty easy with your scraps if you want. Okay, I'll see you guys next time.